In 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Greenberg, and welcome to Talking Headless. Okay, we got 3 brilliant segments for you today, if I do say so myself, and since I am the narrator, I get to say so. Segment 1, events, ecosystems, Entenmann's, and eyebrows. Segment 2, ServiceNow wins CRM Watchlist 2022, winner with distinction, why? Segment 3, pragmatic CX. Is it pragmatic? And how to proceed in accomplishing pragmatic CX, which kind of gives away the answer. We'll take it from here, but let's go to our first segment first. Events, ecosystems, Entenmann's, and eyebrows. In the last couple of weeks, I attended 2 conferences. Very different in concept, very different in size, very different in locale, and yet indicative of what events are going to look like and do look like in a time where COVID is beginning to wind down. Again, not officially less than a pandemic, still a pandemic, but at least it's being treated endemically right now throughout the United States and various parts of the world. Start with Oracle Cloud World, which I attended in mid-October with Brent Leary as co-founder of PPN, partner on CRM Players, BFF, etc. Oracle Cloud World was unique in so many different ways because A, it was now called Cloud World instead of Oracle Open World for the first time. Number 2 was it was a very different kind of event. Now, keep in mind, when I talk about an event, I tend to be on an analyst track at the event, which is always a little different than the standard attendees track. We have special one-on-one meetings. We have VIP privileges. We have one-on-few meetings with senior executives, and we also hear of things that remain under non-disclosure at the actual event itself, where they're not generally announced to the public. So there is always that when it comes to major vendor conferences. If I'm looking at what we saw in CX at Oracle, wasn't a whole lot of new news, really. They announced on the service side, a service asset management product, which was actually working in conjunction with Fusion Marketing and Fusion Sales, and effectively all 3 of them together, but are not so much around pure CRM operational capability, but really around the markets the needs of companies as they evolve in the 21st century. I've talked about it before. We'll probably talk about it again. We know of the alignment of sales and marketing with the service asset management product. They were able to also talk to field service, the integration of marketing and service. There are a number of other capabilities that are built into the product, which I'm not going to go into any detail. On the non-CX side, it was much more interesting in a lot of ways, even though I'm always happy to see the advances in CX because Oracle has a very high-quality CX product. And that's something I would hope that you all recognize, run by the able hand of Rob Tarkoff, who is an old friend of mine. I've known him all the way back to when he was at Adobe. He was also the CEO of Lithium when they were a client company of mine for 7 years. I've known him all this time, decade and a half, really, and I am very glad to see the kind of work he's doing at Oracle has been exceptionally important. The 2 other things I think that were really important that I'm going to focus on, and not the things that standard analysts focus on. One thing that standard analysts tend to focus on will be OCI, which is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And there was an important announcement there, which is when Larry Ellison gave his speech, he was talking about Oracle becoming a cloud of clouds, almost like the thread that runs through all clouds to tie them together so that their integration is seamless. The emphasis he placed was on the integration of Oracle Cloud with Microsoft Azure. Apparently, the partnership with Microsoft, strategic partnership, is quite strong. And he made the point that it was entirely seamless, frictionless, and that the data flows did not have any points where latency was involved at any level of even awareness, much less measurement. For example, he made a specific point on that there was, when you have the integration of Azure with Oracle Cloud, there was no ingress or egress points at all, meaning it all flowed together. So there was no, let's say, data hesitation at any point. The data from one could flow to the data to some area in the other and back and forth without even knowledge that you were using a different, or it's coming from one cloud moving into another one. It was considered that seamless, and that was important. But that's not what I actually want to talk about. Let's make it three things. One, the first thing I want to talk about was what I'm now calling the 3 E's: ecosystems, Entenmanns, and eyebrows. The important one to Oracle, to be honest, as much as I like the other two even better, was ecosystems. Look, Oracle's been moving to platform for a long time. And there's no question that they are a highly capable platform, especially on the CX side. It's underlain by Unity, which they still call a CDP, and that is literally an underestimation of its capabilities. But the idea is platform has been a subject of interest and a technical evolutionary point for Oracle for a long time. But for the first time, you can see that in a world of platforms and ecosystems, they're finally getting ecosystems. The way it manifested specifically was around the ecosystems that Larry Ellison talked about in his keynote when it came to Cerner and the acquisition of Cerner, which is a health systems company of major magnitude that Oracle acquired a few months ago. What he spoke to was an end-to-end ecosystem for health services that was not only filled by the combination of Oracle and Cerner technologies, but at the same time by a whole series of strategic partners. So for example, let's say in the two broadest areas, you have one strategic partner who might provide easy access, or let's put cloud access to patient records with all the compliance and HIPAA and other regulations enveloping that. You might have another one that was handling some specific area of service operations, that on the larger health system side. Now, the difficulty there, of course, is patient-doctor interaction and engagement is very different than large health systems operations. Yet what Larry was defining was an end-to-end ecosystem fulfilled by the acquirer, the acquiree, and last but not least, a series of strategic partners who were covering all areas. That is an ecosystem. That's how ecosystems work. They identify the needs of the patient or the institution and or the institutions and build out all the necessary function and capability that needed through that combination of institutional forces. That was an important indicator of Oracle beginning to understand the idea of end-to-end ecosystems. Number two was the acceleration, advancement, and evolution of Redwood as culture. Brent and I had the distinct honor on Oracle Live to interview Jenny Lam and Hillel Cooperman, who are the two architects of Redwood, which began as a UI, UX kind of play at Oracle, where they were going to change, modernize the user interfaces, user experience, but became instead a cultural bedrock for the entire company, transforming the company's culture in a way that is dramatic enough to make Oracle as a company seem to be an entirely different company than it was even 3 years ago, and to a much, much better place. Jenny and Hillel made a great set of points on that cultural evolution. That was conscious for them when they came to Oracle. They understood the ability of Oracle to evolve and migrate and evolve to this new culture. The UI UX became not only the end, but the means to a different end. And both of them were very clear on that. And I've got to tell you, right now, Hillel, who last time I saw him had short hair, is now rocking really long hair. You got to take a look at him on the interview that Brent and I did. It's up on playersproductions.network or on the YouTube channel under CRM Players. So the second thing was the evolution of culture. That's now deep. It's deeply defined. You saw it in every indication of everything going on at Oracle. And I even have an new Oracle Redwood t-shirt that they gave. I got a black one, Brent got a white one, and we love them. I got to say, it's just the look and feel. It's not just the look and feel of their technology, but now it's the look and feel of the company itself. And it's a dramatic change. And that leads to the third thing, which was the production side of the event itself, the media side. There was Oracle TV, there was Oracle Live, there were multiple ongoing efforts by Oracle to improve the look and feel of the conference itself. They did everything from developing a gorgeous stage for where the keynotes were held, with 2 crane shots that were absolutely stunning in terms of how they moved over the keynotes during the broadcast of the keynotes on the stream that they provided. They had Oracle TV, which was very much a traditional TV show where you had 2 anchors, Fritz and Kendall, who were experienced anchors. Both of them came over from the NetSuite side. They had a studio desk. They had makeup, and that goes to another one of the E's, which I'll get to in a minute. And then they had the professional lights and cameras that you need for a TV production. Separate from that, they had Oracle Live, where Brent and I were able to do one of our shows. We also did 3 ad hoc CRM watch parties on the Oracle keynotes, the apps keynote, Larry's keynote, and Safra Katz's keynote. We did 3 watch parties on that, which we just set up with our own stuff. But Oracle Live was not quite at the same level, say, as Oracle TV, but at the same time had professionally produced lighting and cameras and audio. It was a really lovely desk. And Brent and I actually ran our interview with Hillel and Jenny, and also with Rob Pinkerton, who's the CMO of Oracle CX, using the Oracle Live stage. So the production values were off the charts at the conference. However, that said, there's still no indication that Oracle has a full-blown media channel strategy. They have a media strategy, meaning they know the value of highly produced, high-quality production and highly produced shows, and they know the value of engagement via social, et cetera, but there's no coherent institutional picture for the future of Oracle, a la, say, Salesforce One or HubSpot Creators Hub. But it was a big step forward. Now, what's the other 2 E's? Entenmann's and eyebrows. All right. So Brent and I, with the help of play-in-residence Rebecca Wetterman, did watch parties. It's the Safra Katz keynote, where she was a host and actually did a wonderful job as a host, was a series of interviews of customers of Oracle. One of the customers was called Grupo Bimbo, and they owned Tasty Cake and Sara Lee and so on. And we were all really interested in when they were announcing what they owned. But then at one point, they announced they owned Entenmann's, and me, Brent, and Rebecca all blew the doors off, squealing with delight about the fact that they owned Entenmann's. And we sat there and reminisced about Entenmann's pound cakes and Entenmann's apple strudel and Entenmann's crumb cakes. And as I've been researching, there's raspberry Danish, and there's their chocolate fudge cake, and then there's the chocolate chip pound cake, and it just keeps going on and on. But we went crazy. And any time we talked to anybody about Entenmann's and the fact that Grupo Bimbo owned them, everyone could recite their favorite Entenmann's cake when they were kids. If you have a favorite Entenmann's cake, let me know what it is in the comments on any one of the channels. Come to the PPN channel or the YouTube channel and leave me a comment on what's your favorite Entenmann's cake. Okay, number 3, eyebrows. So during the Oracle TV show that Brent, me, Rebecca were interviewed by Fritz and Kendall. During that show, we had makeup. And at one point, Deanna, who's the makeup artist, said to me, "Do you mind if I cut your eyebrows?" And I went berserk because I love that. My eyebrows were driving me nuts. They were driving me crazy. I know you can't see this, but imagine this is how long they were and see if you know the gesture I'm making here without seeing it. I'm literally blowing up to my nose and my eyebrows would blow away from my nose. So they were that long. So Deanna cut my eyebrows for me, which made the whole conference worth it automatically. Ecosystems, Entenmann's, eyebrows, Oracle Cloud World. Now, Constellation Connected Enterprise 2022. Look, I'm not going to go into great detail on this conference. I just want to briefly really do a shout out. I've been going to this conference for several years now, more than a decade. I think this was year 13. I think I've been to 11. I missed one when I was diagnosed with AFib and right before the conference, so I couldn't go. And I forget why I missed the other one. It was during COVID. I didn't want to go. So it's 2 in a row, 2019, 2020, but I've been at every one before or since. And I will tell you, this may be my favorite conference ever. First, it's Ray Wang and Constellation Research hold this conference. The subject matter is amazing. It's always cutting edge, very much, I'll call it a conference for and I'm not overblowing who's there, but the digerati, right? It's what's the world look like? It's a visionary conference. What's Web 3.0 going to look like? What's the impact it's going to have on everything, really? Could be on ESG. My panel this year was on pragmatic CX, and it was awesome. My panelists were co-host of EWPK and former head of marketing for Golden State Warriors and current partner in Relic Ticketing, Kenny Lauer, the VP of marketing and business development for Train Technologies, Portia Mount, and the CMO of the Culinary Institute of America, Dan Vinn. And we had an awesome panel. These are 3 lively, smart panelists. We discussed, is the light part of a strategy? Does empathy and customer centrism play a real role in CX, or is that just, as one guy called in an article, philosophical crap? I won't tell you what it is. I won't tell you what the answers are. I have a very firm opinion, but I'm a moderator. I was a moderator. But I will highly recommend that you watch the replay of it on the Constellation site, or take a look at some of the pictures where there's a cartoon board of all the panels. It's worth your time. This is held at the Half Moon Bay, Ritz-Carlton in California, with the most gorgeous ocean view I've ever seen. It's entirely collegial. It's about 200 people, a lot of repeat who come every year, but also a lot of first timers. It's fantastically great for networking. If there's any conference I recommend in a given year, if you have to go to one, this is the one. Ray and his team and Megan and her team put on this amazing, remarkable event. And shout out to Clint and Mike, who handle respectively all the audio, visual, and the photography at the conference. They come every year. They do a brilliant job. So CCE, Cloud World, Ecosystems, Entenmann's, Eyebrows, and that's it. I'm heading over to the next segment. I will see you there in just a few seconds.
What they used to tell me every day, caught a few along the way, don't be afraid if you gotta lose one. I'm trying to take it higher, the boy is on fire, you preaching to the choir, you know that. Never been a liar, the boy is on fire, I'll take it to the wire, you know that.
You know what I realized while I was sitting here listening to the music? My music is far better than my commentary. I think I've taken a wrong turn in my life choices. It's probably time for me to just be a radio music host. I'd say DJ, but that's not what I don't know how to handle those turntables. But just broadcast different musical choices and then go home and watch sports. What do you think? All right, that didn't work out too well. Anyway, what I'm going to be talking about today is why ServiceNow, our fourth and final winner of distinction for CRM Watchlist 2022, won winner with distinction. Let's look at a little bit of my history with them so you can get a little bit of color in terms of why they have gotten to where they've gotten. I got a call from an analyst relations person in 2017, named Bobby Lackaboo. She was asked to call me by Holly Simmons, who's a good friend of mine who's now at Oracle, to talk to me about their transformation going on. This is a company that had lived its life in the information technology service management world, ITSM world, and were considered top of the line in the ITSM world. They had about $2 billion, I think it was, in revenue at the time, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, but right around there. And they had just made a move into what was then being called customer service management. They always focused not on customer service, but on service ops when it came to customers, right? And the idea was we make what you do with customers run smooth, if I'm really dumbing it down to a level that even Jim Carrey would find stupid. Now, what did that mean? They paid attention to the business processes, the data flows, the business rules, the automation necessary to run what could be highly complex environments that are scaled enormously and still make it so that when an individual customer or someone on the operations side are involved, they don't see all that's going on underneath it, but they get whatever it is that they're there to do done in a way that they feel very satisfied with when it's over. They were brilliant at ITSM, and they were becoming brilliant in CSM at the time. They had a couple of years, 3 years, where they were having message problems when it came to the transition to a much more focused customer workflow, which is what they now call it, company. But they've got it down now. And in that time, they've grown from roughly $2 billion to almost $2 billion, $1.742 billion, just for third quarter 2022 in cloud revenues alone. So basically a run rate of about 6.9, or if you want to kick it up a notch, $7 billion a year, all within less than 5 years. The other thing which has characterized them, which is absolutely extraordinary, is given their focus, they moved in a new management team. I want to say it's 3 or 4 years ago. Don't hold me to years. And I'm literally not looking it up, so I'm not trying to be that accurate on the year. But they brought in Bill McDermott formerly from SAP, and he replaced John Donahoe, who's the then CEO, went on to go back to as CEO of Nike. Bill McDermott, who has just rocketed the company to what I'm now calling, and have continued to call, the world's biggest unicorn. Now, what does that mean? Why this? Understand something with this company. They are wide open to evolution and growth, and they've got a management team that's put together to handle this. For example, they have Bill McDermott, who is a very well-known CEO, took SAP to new heights also when he was there. Chief Strategy Officer Nick Sitson, who is also a former SAP alum, who is absolutely a brilliant strategy officer. And the thing about Nick is he's very contemporary, very aligned with markets as they are, and at the same time is really focused on how to actually execute against the strategy that he's and his teams have evolved. 3, they've got Michael Park in to handle a large marketing effort that they always have been doing. Except in one area, they've always had a very substantial outreach marketing presence characterized by the AR program and the analyst AR person I deal with all the time is Jeff McDonald, who's one of the best in the industry, and at the same time manages a lot of the AR program, and it's a brilliant AR program, but outreach is a strength of theirs. Always inbound is something of a strength of theirs. there's one area where they need to do work, but in the whole, their marketing effort has kept them very visible over time, extensively. They've understood the value of thought leadership. They've understood the value of customer success. Technologically, they've understood the value of being a very powerful kind of meta platform. In fact, for a while, they were actually pushing the idea that they would become the platform of platforms. And what was interesting about that was, even though they have dropped that, they've dropped the idea, I actually interviewed 12 analysts at the point that the idea was put forward, or 13 analysts, I'm sorry, at the point that it was put forward, and asked them, what do you think? Do you think they can pull it off? And only one of them said they couldn't. Every other one said that they could pull it off. So you're dealing with a company that is trusted to accomplish what they state when it comes to technology, is building out a very strong meta platform, at the same time understood where it is in the pantheon of things when it comes to ops, meaning process, flows, and rules, understood that and to handle it from the simplest to most complex. And at the same time has a management team to support that. But where they've begun to change and where it becomes important is the other things they're doing. So for example, and I'll just give you an idea of how they're viewed from a customer standpoint. The city of Santa Monica is a customer of theirs, and they were looking at ServiceNow because they have to deal with it's not a big city, but they have, I think it was, not, at the time at least when they engaged ServiceNow, they had 93,000 constituents in the city. And the idea was, okay, we've got a lot of things we have to do to really serve the citizens of this city. And we have to figure out what's our strategy going to be, what our outcomes going to be, what our goals going to be, what our metrics going to be, and so on. But then we have to build out the operations to support that. And that means, keep in mind, one thing that's big when it comes to cities is accurate fulfillment of requests from individual constituents. And that's a big deal. What's interesting is that the city of Santa Monica implemented both CSM, and still was CSM at the time, and ITSM, and then they designed the user experience around it so that it could be accessed from a portal, from a smartphone, a tablet, or obviously in person always. And they didn't want it to be like, okay, with the app you can only do this much. With the portal you can do this much and this much more. With this tablet you can see and do this much. They wanted to make sure that it was a consistent constituent experience across the board, and that all the services you access on one could be accessed by another. And in fact, what they were able to work around or work through was that they treated ServiceNow as a communications hub, not just a operations tool. So they successfully pulled off what they're calling a digital city hall in Santa Monica. And this is indicative of how ServiceNow is viewed. Where ServiceNow learned a while back was around the impact that service ops can have on customer experience. That was actually a flaw in their early days. And when I first met them, they didn't understand that. They really did separate service ops and kept it, while they may have been subliminally aware of it, or at least individuals might have been aware of it, it was not part of the strategy of the company, was to tie not just the idea of CX to ops, but also, or to just build out the technology, but to actually understand the impact in a deep way. For example, and I won't go into details, one of their customers was Disney. And again, I can speak to what I'm about to speak to publicly, and not everything, but what I'm about to speak to publicly. When Disney opened, Disney was expecting a pretty high volume of calls due to the number of subscribers they had on opening day of Disney Plus. And that's the actual customers, Disney Plus. They had, let's say, many times that number, and it created all kinds of potential problems. I remember I was one of the Disney Plus subscribers on day one, and I had the infinite loop of latency to log in. It was almost impossible. That said, thanks to the implementation of ServiceNow, the amount of churn off of that was reduced to below even a normal minimum. And they basically didn't lose really much of anything or anyone. as a result of ServiceNow's technology working so well and the implementation of technology being spot on, it almost saved Disney Plus's butt, really. I don't know if they'd go as far as to say that, but they had, as a result of that, I think it was Knowledge 2020, which was a virtual conference. They had the CIO of Disney Plus on, who talked about his partner ServiceNow. That was when they would realize, I think, fundamentally the impact of service ops on CX is absolutely one-to-one. It's straight arrow, right? It's not tracked, it's not circuitous, it's straight arrow, it's powerful, and they've operated from that standpoint ever since. The other thing that they've done, which I think was another winning feature of why Winner with Distinction, was their industry strategy expanded greatly over the last year and a half. When I first was talking about industry strategy, just conversational, it wasn't advisory particularly at the time, although we'd had those discussions on and off. The guy running it basically had them focused on, at the time, he told me that they were focused on 4 industries. And I remember telling him, with what you have, you could vastly expand that. I don't think it's because of me particularly, although I'd love to take credit, which would make me a powerful human being, but I really don't think it was because of me. But they have vastly expanded their industry strategy and have built out strategic alliances with multiple companies. As a result of that, they've expanded their horizontal strategy. So you'll see alliances now, ServiceNow and AT&T, ServiceNow and Adobe, ServiceNow and Microsoft. And you'll see dozen interesting alliances that encompass multiple different industries or different horizontal aspects of an ecosystem, right? And that was mission critical to these guys. The other thing that they've done really well is, and I think is a really important facet as a company, because don't forget, CRM Watchlist entries are companies, not technologies. Technology is one of 14 different aspects that they have to justify in the course of their submission. They have 2 programs, or one initiative and one program that they've announced that I think I will close with, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of information. One is called, the initiative is called Rise Up, and the idea is by 2024 to add 1 million people to the ServiceNow ecosystem by giving them skills that allow them to work with ServiceNow, to work at ServiceNow, but to be part of the overall ServiceNow ecosystem. 1 million people in a job market that's obviously wanting right now in terms of these level of skills, because these are not low level, and they're investing what they have to. It's called Rise Up. ServiceNow Rise Up. The other thing was the announcement about a year and a half ago of ServiceNow Impact. Now, one thing with ServiceNow that impressed me from day one was their customer success application. Celia Fleischacker, who's currently CMO of Verint, was CMO of Pros when I was talking to her, and had been CMO of Epicor, which was a big customer of ServiceNow, told me that their customer success program was awesome, 24/7 availability, just outstanding. And when I looked into it, it was one of the most well-established, documented, and capable customer service programs I had ever seen. I would call it literally a paradigmatic customer service program, a blueprint for what other companies could do. They've taken that even further. What they've done, which is an initiative I'm seeing at multiple companies now, but they were first to market on this, they've created a program called ServiceNow Impact. And what ServiceNow Impact, run by my buddy Aaron Fulkerson, is all about is taking all the customer-facing services, and that could mean customer success, it could mean professional services, it could mean customer service, it could mean help desk, it could mean anything that is customer facing, tying it together in a set of programs, some which are free, some which are premium, at the same time providing the same quality of customer interaction that the companies need, with a mix of services available, still maintaining the distinction between the services, but tying it all together in a way that is really smart, and also can provide you with tiers and levels of service that you would never get if it weren't for the fact that they understood that all of these services, while they have distinct capabilities they can bring to bear in the market and to the companies, need to have a cohesive institutional structure that allows them to have optimal impact for the companies that they serve. And it was first to market like this. It was called Impact. Very important. Took their customer success program to a whole other level as a result of it, even though it is not only a customer success program. Those were why ServiceNow wins Winner with Distinction. They are an outstanding company with a strong management team, powerful outreach, a terrific PR program, a great platform, and programs that are designed to create impact with customers that satisfy customer needs, requirements, demands, etc. Now, what is it they're going to have to do? There's 2 or 3 things. I would say that in order to maintain the impact that they have had over the next 3 years, they're going to have to do. One is they're going to have to, even as good at marketing as they've been, they don't have anywhere near the media presence. And that means the live streams, the pre-recorded shows, the podcasting network, et cetera, that companies like Salesforce or HubSpot or even Oracle have. They're going to need to build out, I would say, a media presence. I'll call it institutionalize a media presence around a media channel or a media network and start seeing themselves in part as a media company, as do the companies who are highly successful with that kind of effort. That's number one. Number two, more public proof of concept of their industry strategy success, meaning the case studies, tell the stories, get them out there. I know they're doing well with different industries. What's not clear is which industries they're doing well with, what companies are willing to test them, and they need to get the questions asked. They need to get the subject, the answers down, and then they need to get the story out. Those 2 things are vitally important. Oddly, with as good as the marketing as they're doing, they even need to do more aligned contemporarily that show visible proof of their power of their evolution as a company. And finally, so I want to just say thank you, ServiceNow, for participating in the CRM Watchlist. I'm very happy that you've won Winner with Distinction for 2022. Now, an announcement related to CRM Watchlist. There was a CRM Watchlist 2023. It has been postponed. It is CRM Watchlist 2024 now. I want to make a much bigger deal of it than we were able to because what took up my time this year was the launch of Players Productions Network. Brent and I launched our network on September 26th. So next year, there will be a CRM Watchlist guaranteed. It will be the 20th and last. There will be a number of additional things that will be announced related to it that have never been announced before. And yet the core watch list registration and submission and announcement of winners will also occur with an award show probably February 2024 on PPN. That said, if you're interested in participating in the watch list, and you don't have to be CRM, you just have to have some aspect of your company that you can determine is customer facing. If you're interested, and these are technology vendors entirely, okay? Practitioners, I would highly suggest you submit to Ray Wang's Supernova Awards. If you're interested in trying your lot at awards, feel free to contact me at paul-greenberg3 at the56group.com. That's also the address if you want to register for CRM Watchlist 2024. Use that. I will send you the questionnaire back. The questionnaire will be due December 31st, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. All right, we got another segment to go. That's it for this one. I will see you in a few minutes in the People's Playbook.
I've been thinking about you, boy.
I'm super right-brained. I don't even think I have a left brain. In fact, for years, I literally thought my left brain was on the left side of my head, when in fact it's on the right side of my head, which I did not know. Because I'm so right-brained, when I think about customer experience, I think about, my definition is, how a customer feels about a company over time, and the key word there being feels. So I was intrigued, very intrigued, by the subject of my panel that I was moderating at Ray and Constellation's CCE 2022 a week ago. It was Pragmatic CX. I found this post by this guy named Jack Springman, who sadly passed away in September, where he said, customer centrism is deified, empathy is philosophical crap, it's all about the bottom line. The only thing that matters when it comes to CX is how it impacts the business itself. And he did not see empathy or customer centrism playing a part in customer experience in any way, shape, or form. He saw customer experience more as another means to a revenue-producing end and nothing else involved. So that became very interesting to me, because if you're looking at it, what he said on a tactical level, where he outlined some of the specific things that people can be concerned with, like measurements and things like that, sure, no question. But from the standpoint of the context of the post, it was horrible. Customer centrism, deified, which partly true, but at the same time doesn't make it any less relevant to CX. And empathy, philosophical crap, absolutely untrue. It was disgusting at a lot of levels. So the other thing, which has always been subject to discussion with me, has been the companies that on the opposite end of the very same spectrum say things like, our strategy is to delight the customer all the time. And my answer is, no, it isn't, and you can't. That said, I was empowered with an amazing panel, who I mentioned earlier, with Kenny Lauer, who is the former head of marketing for the Golden State Warriors, is a current partner in Relic Ticketing, which is an NFT blockchain-based ticketing platform, which is pretty extraordinary. I highly recommend, if you need ticketing in any way, shape, or form, you look into what they're doing. And, of course, what I think is most important, he co-hosts Engage with Paul and Kenny, EWPK, which you can find on the playersproduction.network website or on the YouTube PPN channel. The other two panelists were Portia Mount, the VP of Marketing and Business Development for Train Technologies, which is many create environmental surfaces. So they'll do things like air conditioning and heating and filtration, et cetera, but in a very cohesive, environmentally contemporary and responsible, sustainable way. And Dan Vinn, who is the Chief Marketing Officer of the Culinary Institute of America, which is one of the few jobs out there I genuinely envy. So the three of them were outstanding, and I asked them the two questions. Should empathy and customer centrism play a part in the consideration for a pragmatic CX strategy? Now, look, general consensus is, yeah, they should. Although, one of the things that Dan mentioned is customers can be jerks. And there's a breaking point with those customers where you can try to understand what's causing the issues they're having, what they may be going through, what you are responsible to do And if it still doesn't satisfy them, you may have to cut ties, and that's absolutely true. Everyone agreed, I believe, and I may be putting words into everyone's mouth, that the light is not a strategy that can be successful when it comes to a pragmatic customer experience strategy. However, the light as an occasional occurrence is something important when it comes to an overall CX strategy. But the key there is occasional, not strategic and always. That's a joke. Ultimately, look, you know what it is? It's like, I'm sure that we'd all love 24/7 orgasms, but they're not happening either. So the idea here is that pragmatic CRM has to be defined by, on the one hand, and this is the first step in doing any sort of CRM at all, what the outcomes and results you are looking for from a CX strategy at your company. And that includes, by the way, defining what CX even is to your company. Number two, it's make sure you spend the time to establish the limitations the company has, as well as understanding what the customers want and working within your limitations to provide them with as best you can. For example, 1 million customers want 178 things, of which 34 are common to a large percentage of those customers, but your company is constrained by regulation, by finance, by considerations, by whatever, to 32 of them. Then provide them with the 32 or the subset thereof, and that will satisfy a large subset of your total audience's requirements. But you provide them with subset when it comes to giving them a series of choices. You don't just say, hi, this thing. You say, hi, here are 6 or 7 choices you can have to do X. Please pick 1 or 2, and that's the way we'll work with you. In other words, you're interacting and engaging with the customer in a way that makes them feel like they still have control over the situation. At the same time, what you're providing them reflects what the company can actually afford to provide for whatever reason. And that's the second step. The third step when it comes to it is develop pilot programs, right? Now, when I say that, meaning, look, we have this whole thing, there's 2 ongoing philosophies in the industry is small wins and fast failure. These are 2 strategies you often hear. They're really just more tweetable sound bites than anything else. There was always some validity with small wins over the years, which is you win the things you can to essentially establish proof of concept and some confidence in the ability to do the other things. And that's legitimate. I would give it a thumbs up. The fast failure thing, this is pretty much what I think of fast failure. Ridiculous, okay? We're not talking about fast failure. Nobody should have failure as part of a strategy. The word shouldn't even be in it. Yes, you attempt to get the wins. Maybe it's a small win, maybe it's a larger win. In the course of that, you're probably going to fail at some things you're doing. You learn from them, you continue to move on to succeed at that small win or larger endeavor, one or the other. But you do not plan for fast failures. You don't plan for failures ever. You just utilize failures, understand they're going to happen, and then learn from what you've done wrong. And then don't do it again, of course. So the third step is develop small pilot programs that will help you succeed when it comes to CX. Maybe it's something as simple as a store experience. For example, one that you've heard me use many times is UPS. That's really a small win, but it's a big win at the same time. Basically, they've organized the stores in ways that allow you to get in and out really quickly, which is one of the outcomes you had defined when it came to that first step. Or on a gaming platform, something really small. Hi will notify you of updates for your games on the Steam Valve platform, which is where they do, so that you can download and install the updates right from the platform, make it easy on you. Is it a gigantic thing? No, in fact, it's something that is often just taken for granted when it happens. But at the same time, if I had to go to a site that was away from where the platform is holding my game, and then I had to find the upgrade, then I had or update, then I had to find it and download it, then I had to bring it back, I had to install it on the game. That's a lot harder than, hi, update available, install. And then that's exactly how Steam, which is owned by Valve, the largest gaming platform in the world to date that I know of, does updates. They're automatic. They're in queue. They can be set up so that they will just happen. On the other hand, if you want to manually do it, you just click and it says install and the update happens, and then you're done. Small things, but valuable things. Main thing as part of that is make sure that once you've got these programs in place, get employee buy-in for it. And by the way, understand, buy-in doesn't just mean rah-rah employees. Yes, we all have to count on the customer at the center of things. We are talking about self-interested, not selfish, self-interested human beings who have careers, who have bills to pay, etc. Develop some form of compensation that goes not just to the good work, pal, but also provides them with some way, incents them to actually continue to support a culture that's being built around this kind of customer-centered, experiential, pilot, and then fully functional programs. Fifth and final, when you put these programs out, and it could be the pilots or it could be the final version of a full functioning program, be honest about the program, right? When I say that, I didn't say be transparent. I am sick and tired of that word, that companies will go, oh, we're fully transparent. No, you're not. If you're a company, I'll tell you what you'll do. You're a private company, you're going to tell me your revenue? No. So you're not transparent. You're a public company, guess what? Regulation's going to hide a bunch of things from me that you're not allowed to tell me. You're never fully transparent. But what you can be is fully honest. One, about the fact you're not fully transparent. But also tell them, look, this is a pilot. We don't know how it's going to work. We hope it'll work well. We hope it's something that we can utilize much more broadly, much more extensively across the entire company and platform. But we need your feedback and help on this. If it doesn't work for you, please let us know. And then we will get back to you on whether we did something with what you let us know or not. Meaning bi-directional communication, ongoing, getting honest feedback, but also letting the customer know that you didn't just hear them, you listened to them. And listen doesn't mean you implemented everything they said just because they said it. Remember what I said about Dan. Sometimes customers can be jerks, and they may just be complaining and whining and telling you something that they want you to do that is literally out of the question because of cost or limitations of the company or regulation or whatever. Then you have to say, no, we cannot do that. We can't afford to do it, and or regulation requires us to keep that private, or regulation prevents us from doing that, or whatever, or we just decided, given other priorities, that we were moving in this direction. Some of the other priorities don't just say other priorities. Be explicit as you can. Get it out to your customer base. Make sure the feedback is bi-directional. So let me reiterate. Pragmatic CRM. 1, empathy, customer centrism are absolutely part of a strategy for CX and are part of a DNA for a company. And it's a pragmatic thing to do because it will enhance and evolve the company in ways that you otherwise wouldn't. 2, delight always is ridiculous. Delight occasionally is valuable, useful, and necessary. The 5 steps. 1, define the outcomes and results you're looking for. 2, and the definition of CX. 2, make sure you spend the time to establish what the company can do within its limitations as a company. Again, regulatory, financial, time and labor limitations, whatever. And against what the customers are asking you to do. Limitations versus what the customers are asking. And hopefully you can integrate enough to satisfy those customers. Once you've done that, develop pilot programs for small wins or larger wins and successes that you can bring to market that will benefit your customers as quickly as possible, at the same time provide you with the kind of confidence internally to build out even bigger programs. And number 4 is get employee buy-in on this, and make sure that includes compensation. Pats on the back, sure, but also monetary compensation or contest. They win a contest for best employee when it comes to voted by the customers. Maybe they get a vacation with their family, whatever. You show them that they are valued as employees, not just that they have to support or cursorily support a customer-centric, customer-focused company and commensurate programs. And finally, be honest with your customers with these pilot programs and programs. What that means is explain to them your limitations. Explain to them their pilots. Explain to them things might go wrong. Explain to them that you need their feedback. And explain to them after you've listened, not just heard their feedback, that yes, we listened and we did this, or we listened, but we couldn't do this, and here's why we couldn't. Be honest. Again, not transparent, honest. Do those 5 things, and you're well on your way to a very pragmatic CX strategy program that will benefit your company over time. Okay, I'm out of here. This is Paul Greenberg on behalf of Talking Headless. I'll see you next week. If you're interested in any further shows, watch us at playersproductions.network. Or if you want to hear other episodes of this podcast, look at Spotify, Apple, go to the YouTube channel, Players Productions Network or PPN, and you will find us. Other than that, see you in a couple of weeks.
Talking Headless, a PPN digital broadcast.